All right, so let's talk about finishing pitches and confidence. So this has been, I think, far and away the number one reason we have not thrown as many strikes as a team for the team I coach recently. So you throw a ball one. Oh, I gotta throw a strike. Otherwise, I'm gonna be 2-0. You throw another ball. Oh no, 2-0. He's gonna take a big swing, and if I miss, it's gonna be 3-0, and then I'm gonna walk him. It becomes this big spiraling thing, and it's a very, very destructive mindset. So the biggest thing that I learned, it took me a long, long time. It took me till I was like 28 to really kind of be through it. Is just that you compete on every pitch and that you cannot dwell on the previous one. So even as I started to get mentally stronger and I started to have a meditation practice and I visualized and I was known as an aggressive pitcher, still you feel the fight or flight, or you start to get behind the count, or you throw pitches that you're less comfortable with throwing for strikes or that you don't believe in or whatever. It just spirals out of control really fast, and then you're like guiding things in and everything about your stuff, like that last little bit of your slider, your curveball, your changeup, your fastball, that last little bit of all of them is extremely crucial. That's what gives them the life. That's what gives them the sink if it's a sinker. That's what gives it the best bite if it's a slider. That's what gives it that life, that little hop if it's a four-seamer. So if you start easing off, if you start to lose your confidence, you go from being hard to hit to extremely easy to hit, because what hitters got used to seeing from you, that last little bit of oomph that they just couldn't catch up with, or that last minute bite of your slider, now that goes away because they see you ease off it and they pick the slider up. Or the fastball, instead of sort of looking like it rises at the end, now it just looks the same as everyone else's. And it's a step down because they were seeing that good fastball from you. So now they were seeing the good version. Now they see the easier version from you. And it just becomes a nightmare really quick. So finishing the pitch is crucial. And it's this weird balance where you're not overthrowing. Like, overthrowing is the worst with the velocity movement and all the weighted ball stuff. Kids are absolutely obsessed with velocity. They're thinking about their velocity in the game. They're trying to, if they have a radar gun somewhere present where they can see it when they're on the mound, which, like the scoreboard behind you or whatever sometimes, that's a nightmare because they see 89. They're like, oh, this one's going to be 90. And they're thinking about the velocity instead of executing the pitch, and we just don't have enough bandwidth to do both. So the whole velocity movement is a nightmare. It's ruining kids. It's just ruining the pitchability of all these young pitchers. And the idea that velocity is the most important thing is a sham. It's extremely important, but we have to get out of the mindset of overthrowing and also get out of the mindset of underthrowing, where we're trying to ease off and guide it in there and we nibble. We have to compete and find our set point where there's screw you in every pitch, but not so much of it that the ball goes up. There's a difference between, it's kind of like if I had a little chart, this would be the little zone where it's screw you. Every pitch that I throw has screw you in it. And everything above that little band is overthrowing. So I'm throwing it as hard as I can with the intent to execute the pitch that I want to execute and to screw you as a hitter. Anything above that goes into, I'm trying to throw the ball extra hard for a reason that's beyond executing the pitch. I want to hit 93. That's above that band. And that's where everything becomes garbage. Ball goes up, you miss your spot. Throwing 93 and missing your spot is not better than throwing 92 and hitting your spot, not by a long shot. And so everything below that band is, I don't want to get 1-0. I don't want to leave one over the plate. I don't want him to hit it in the gap. I don't want to walk another hitter. I don't want to fall farther behind. Coach might pull me. There's a pitcher warming up in the bullpen. All that stuff, it just like drains the life force out of you. And it's just like, I can remember a lot of different moments where I was nervous. I was like, oh crap, I just walked another hitter. Now the bases are loaded. And over time I learned to be like flare my nostrils and like compete hard against the next guy. Like, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging. It's really hard to foster and to like own that mentality. I struggled to own that mentality until the last day of my career. But the sooner you can foster that, the sooner you get better at that, the better things get. Because again, everything has to be in that screw you little band where I'm throwing it 99 to 100% as hard as I can. Not 102%. That's like the overthrowing. I'm trying to throw harder for the number, and not the 98 and below where I'm trying to hit a spot and I'm trying to be very fine and very precise and miss bats and not walk guys and not do this. That below that band is like the zone of I'm trying to avoid bad things from happening. So it's just this, it's really tough to get really good at that little area where you're making things happen. You're making them happen with a purpose. Throwing a ball 92 miles per hour is not a purpose that has any relevance in baseball. Making a pitch, throwing a ball by a guy has a purpose, or jamming a guy has a purpose. But that little purposeful band of screw you mentality in the pitch and executing the pitch and competing against the hitter and competing against the mitt and all that is extremely tough. It's extremely valuable, and it really just comes from confidence. So when you have those mound visits with your players, you have to have something in there to try to get them back into that band. So if they're overthrowing, they need to dial it down and focus hard on throwing it past the hitter or throwing it, competing hard into the mitt, not throwing it hard just for hard's sake. And then also if they're just struggling, you've got to get their confidence back up and remind them who they are and remind them that that hitter stinks and that they can throw the ball by that guy and they can jam him, they can do what they want with him. Even if they're a soft throwing pitcher, they need to have that mindset where they're getting every last bit, that last little bit of the baseball. So it's one of those things where, you even hear it from parents where kids are not throwing strikes. Hey, just ease it in there. Just throw, just take a little bit off. It's not the right way to do it. And again, it's not to say that telling a kid to throw his hardest is the way to do it either. But usually when they're underthrowing, saying throw the ball as hard as you can, which is what I do, will get them into the right area. Only do kids overthrow when they're already throwing well, and then they try to get a little bit more. That's what overthrowing is. Like, I'm 0-2, and I'm throwing the ball hard. Now I'm going to try to strike you out, and I overthrow. But when you're underthrowing and you're missing spots and you're nibbling, telling them to throw it as hard as they can doesn't really put them into the overthrowing zone. It puts them into the screw you zone, which is where they need to be. It's like, because they're still focused on hitting spots. Like, that's why they were missing their spots. That's why they were losing their confidence, because they were trying to hit spots. So they're in that mentality already about nibbling and hitting, making good pitches. So then when you say throw it hard, it's not like they even immediately snap into overthrowing. They snap from hitting spots to hitting a spot hard and throwing the ball hard. So it's just a really fine balance. I'm not sure how much more I can elaborate. And I don't know that I have a lot of actionable things that help improve it, because it's really just mindset. But almost all the walks, all of the rough innings that I've seen in the last 2 weeks from my squad, whether it's my squad or the opponents, it's been from kids backing off. When they have fight or flight, they all flee. And when they do that, ball goes in the dirt, ball goes up, they miss spots, they walk out on 4 pitches. And there's just so much. We're not pitching machines, we're not robots. And it's just about trying to find out what each pitcher needs, confidence-wise, or rah-rah between innings, or just long-term building them up to get them to where when they go to the mound, they feel like they can do it.